Hi, and welcome to the Business Owner Spotlight series. My name is Gabriel Moore, and I am one of the senior partners here at Action Coach, Vanguard in Central Iowa. Today, I have Aaron Steele, the owner of Goats on the Go, as my guest. We're going to be talking about his business, his journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop new conversations just like this one. Aaron, welcome. And I'm pretty excited for this interview. Thanks for being here today. Please give us a brief overview of your background and tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, Gabe. Glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation. So Goats on the Go is a national network of targeted grazing businesses. That term in itself takes a little bit of explanation, but we founded the company here in Ames, Iowa in 2012. I founded it with a friend who I bought out a handful of years later. And we participate in targeted grazing, which is just simply the use of livestock animals in a targeted fashion to deal with weed and brush control problems for our customers. So the short way to say this is that our goats eat the vegetation that our customers want less of. And that might include just nuisance plants or relatively benign plants, but there's too much of it. Or it might be out west, especially in the United States, this would be vegetation that would be fuel in a wildfire that we need to mitigate that. So we'll apply goats to do that. And oftentimes it includes eating invasive vegetation species. So plants that are non-native and are kind of taking over a landscape to the detriment of other types of vegetation. So
Is this okay for the goats?
Oh, it's fantastic for the goats. I mean,
Okay.
it's one of the really interesting things about goats is their biology allows them to eat things that other livestock don't, and that we wouldn't expect any animal to eat. But it turns out to be actually really excellent feed for the goats. They're living their best lives out there on our projects,
Right.
and we're helping the customer solve a problem at the same time.
No doubt. That's absolutely brilliant. It's like literally a win-win situation kind of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you couple it with a farm like we do, we get an additional source of revenue from our goats in providing the service on top of the goats as an agricultural product. The customers get their vegetation problem solved, and they're able to do it in a way they can get fired up about. You know, nobody's exciting about spending money on vegetation control, right?
Right, right.
In fact, many of our customers don't even finally decide to do something about their vegetation problem until they know there's this solution that exists, and that they can get fired up about. They can get fired up about the fun of having the goats at the property. They can get fired
Yeah.
up about, offsetting the use of chemical herbicides and, disruptive machinery that might otherwise be the only solution available to them.
And an
Um,
expensive solution, no less, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
inexpensive. I mean, we typically don't try to compare ourselves to those other solutions on a price basis because we're
Sure.
kind of a different animal,
Yeah,
I guess.
literally.
No pun intended. Uh, but yeah, I mean, oftentimes we are less expensive or perhaps the only good solution for a vegetation problem in places where there's steep slopes or sensitive soils or next to water or,
Wow,
in a
yeah.
densely populated area. Sometimes goats are really the only solution regardless of price.
That's unbelievable. I mean, it really is an amazing concept, and it seems like a no-brainer probably maybe after you put it all together, you're like, oh man, why? Duh. Um, so let me set the stage for our viewers and listeners. Tell us a little bit about what role you currently play in your business now.
Sure. So my wife and I own the business, and I am the president of the business, and I'm kind of one of those solopreneurs,
Yeah.
I have my finger in just about every part of the business. We have Over time, added some help here and there, part-time help, contract help. But day to day, my job is mostly expanding our affiliate network. I mentioned that we're a national company, that we're a network of these goat grazing businesses. So there are goats on the goes all across the US. And so over time, my role has transitioned from being the guy out there putting goats on the project, installing fencing, removing fencing, climbing hills, getting cut up by the brush and thorns,
Sweat equity.
toward yeah, toward now managing this network of people who look to us for help and support and branding support, and also recruiting new affiliates to take on new territories across the U.S. So that's the majority of what I do.
What a different mindset that must be too. Do you think that at this time, do you think you're still kind of wearing all the hats inside of the business?
I am most of the hats. I have been
Hats, yeah,
able
I
to
got
give
you.
up. I have been able to turn over some things to some helpers.
Good,
That's
man.
been great. I think one of the interesting opportunities that has revealed itself is that many of our affiliates across the country, they're operating their own targeted grazing themselves,
Okay.
but they're really skilled in other ways too. And so they know what the business is like on the ground. And so I can occasionally pull them in on a contract to help in some other ways at a higher level, some of the recruitment and relationship building with our affiliates across the country, checking in to see if they need help or support. And so rather than going out and looking to pull somebody in cold to hire to do some administrative work for us, we're using some of our affiliates that are already in the network and just giving them more administrative and managerial responsibilities on a contract basis.
What a great idea. No, I mean, you're basically keeping it in-house, utilizing other strengths of other people, people that are already benefiting from the program. No, that's exactly where you need to be. When you look at your role, Aaron, how many hours do you think you spend on your business versus how many you spend in your business? And you know what I mean? Like on being strategy and things
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it's that question. That's the question that I would like to answer. I'm 80% on my business and 20% in my business, but I'm sure it's more, it's probably reversed. Maybe not that bad.
that.
Maybe 60-40, you know.
It's funny you say that.
Maybe
So are you saying like you feel like you're 80 on, 20 in, but maybe might be 80 in, 20 on? Is that what you're getting at?
I feel like I should be about 80% working on the business and 20% in, but I'm afraid it's probably
Maybe the opposite.
40% working on the business and
Okay.
60% in the business.
Yeah, it's
It-
kind of tough. It's tough to see the hamster wheel when you're in it. It looks like a ladder when you're in it, right? And so
yeah,
until you fall out of the hamster wheel, you realize, wait a minute, I need to work on this. I need to make it a bigger hamster wheel or sell hamster wheels. It just gets, it's different. Yeah, I get it.
right, right. I think it is clear to me, though, in a way that it wasn't at first, when
Okay.
I am spending too much time doing the day-to-day tasks and not enough time thinking big.
That's good.
And that actually, I feel that pressure all the time, and I guess
And it
the
might not
upside
have
to
been
that,
there before, right?
right, right. I didn't realize it right at first, but now I really feel that pressure, and I think um, pressure has a negative connotation, but in this case, it's pushing me, constantly pushing me back toward the bigger picture and working on the business. And
Absolutely.
so I think it's good that I feel that. Now I just have to do a better job of responding to it and making
Yeah.
plans
At Action
to address.
Coach, we got a thing that we talk about that's called perturbation. And perturbation is applied pressure causing agitation, which makes a change. It's kind of scientific, right? But the
Right.
perturbation that we're speaking of, when we start off as entrepreneurs, many times we're perturbated or we're pressured by the environment or our experience. And then as you grow as a business owner, you start to do self pressure, like you're talking about. Now you're walking around, and when you're working in the business, you're like, okay, I am not, I should not be doing this. I should be working on this. That's like a self-induced pressure that helps you grow. And to me, it's a next level kind of thing.
Well, that's good to hear. Maybe I'm moving in the right direction.
I think you are. I think everything that you're experiencing is natural, and well, maybe not so. I mean, there's a lot of business owners out there that don't get to that level, in a sense where they don't realize that they're working so much in the business, and I mean like almost 100%. And so you obviously have a different perspective on that. You're seeing it from an outside picture. You've grown nationally. You're engaging other people. No, you're heading in the right direction. That's a fact. Yeah.
That's good to hear. There's this extra wrinkle with this business too, in that it's hard to. It's not just one business because there's a farm running in the background.
Sure.
And farmers are notorious about working 100% in the business and rarely on the business. And
All
so,
about hard work.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there are many times when I'm working on the farm and I feel like I should be at the desk, and then when I'm at the desk, I feel I should be getting the farm stuff done.
Yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
but I think that's just the nature of the beast here, with
Yeah.
this type of business. And part of the reason for starting Goats on the Go was to find an innovative way into agriculture. I knew I couldn't go out and buy 1,000 acres of land at $12,000 an acre here in Iowa to get into
Right.
farming. So I needed to find a different way in, and I found my way in. And so now we just have to figure out how to balance it.
It's so cool. Just it's such an interesting thing. If you don't mind, I'm going to move on to what makes not necessarily what makes your business special. We know what makes your business special, but who primarily does your business serve? If I were in the audience right now and I'm listening to this interview, how would I know if I was a good fit for your product or the service, or like the goats? How would I know if I was a good fit for that?
Yep. So the nature of our business has become that we actually have two different customers. We have the affiliates that we're trying to recruit to
Yep.
operate goat grazing businesses right where they live. And we have the end customer who benefits from the service of targeted grazing. For that end customer that we're helping our affiliates find and serve, uh, that customer, typically owns land or is a manager of land. Um,
Yeah.
Probably generally a little bit higher up on the wealth scale, and typically does not have the time to deal with their vegetation problem. They recognize that it's an issue, but that it is just so low on the priority list for them.
Okay.
Um, and like I said, they might have been thinking about some quick, fast, and dirty solutions to their vegetation problem, including spraying it with chemicals or just
Light it
getting
on
in there,
fire.
light it on fire, or scrape it all off with a skid loader blade.
Right.
Um, and so we hope to get to that customer just when they're at that point where they're about to pull the trigger on that, and then they
Pulling their
realize there's
hair
a
out.
much better and exciting way to deal with it.
It is, and I couldn't even imagine if there were kids involved too. I mean, are the goats? Is it a situation where, I mean, are they safe? Are they gonna chew on kids' clothing and stuff like that? I mean, how does that work?
Well, the goats are notorious for chewing on all sorts of things. They're not going to chew on the children themselves, but maybe on their shirt tails. Um, yeah, no, it's really, really safe. The goats are really laid back and busy eating. They're not going to get distracted by anything
Right,
else.
right.
It's actually a great
They're
educational
focused.
opportunity. Yeah, a great educational opportunity for kids, to see a little bit of agriculture in their backyards.
That's cool. Um, what is one thing you wish people, or I should say, what is one thing you wish more people knew about your business?
Yeah, I wish they understood that. I wish they understood the agricultural component more. And I look at that as an opportunity with our business. we're smack dab in the middle of Iowa. You would think everybody knows a little bit about agriculture.
You'd think.
Uh,
It's
yeah,
just not the
right,
case, is it?
right.
Yeah, no.
But we'll go do a grazing project in a city park, for example,
Yeah.
and um,
Wow.
this is the first time people have seen agricultural livestock goats. Maybe they've been to a petting zoo and
Sure.
seen miniature goats or pet goats and that sort of thing. And so there are a lot of questions and sometimes some ignorance about the interplay between what we're doing in agriculture. I mean, not all of our affiliates sell their goats for meat or produce dairy products from their goats, but we do, and I think it's an important thing um, to point out to these folks who aren't engaged in agriculture that look, they're eating the best possible stuff they could there, and they are replacing chemicals and replacing fire and replacing petroleum burning machinery, and at the same time producing really fantastic food that was raised in a great way for people.
Yeah.
And if we leave off that last part of feeding people, I think we've missed a great opportunity. And so doing these projects in public places is a good opportunity to educate people about agriculture. So I kind of, on the one hand, it's something I wish people knew, but we've kind of embraced it in our mission also as a company.
No, that makes complete sense. And you really kind of dove a little bit more and better into the educational aspect of this, and not just for kids, though. Honestly, like you said, even for law-abiding citizens that forget that they're in Iowa because they're living in the inner city, and they only see farm if they go out of town. And so, and depending on how often they're there, as a wow, goats. It's almost like you're seeing the ocean for the first time you live here. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah. So, what's the number one marketing strategy that's brought you the most business currently?
Um, yeah, I mean, this is going to sound really rudimentary, but the best way for our affiliates to find customers is to be out there doing projects with their goats, because no billboard can draw people's attention like a herd of goats in a place they wouldn't normally be. I mean, you can't ignore that, right? And so being out there doing the work, simply having a job site sign that has your contact information on it is a great way to find more customers. Um,
That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
I mean, there's a chicken and egg thing to that, right? You need to get work. How do
Right.
you market in order to get jobs when doing a job is the best possible marketing?
Do you
Um,
ever, so you only have, I'd imagine that you only have so many goats. Is it ever a capacity issue? Is it ever like a production capacity? Like you hit the point where the goats are busy. Sorry. I mean, we can't, we take it one at a time kind of thing. I mean, what does that look like for you?
right. Many of our affiliates across the country are already filling up their schedules for 2024 here at the
Wow.
end of 2023.
Okay.
There's a lot of demand for the service. Um, and yeah, it takes numbers of goats to get that done. And kind of going back to what we talked about, like understanding that there's a farm operating behind this.
Right.
If your growing season is only 6 months long and you need 400 goats to keep up with the demand, that means 400 goats have to be fed somewhere for the other 6 months of the year. And that's where that agricultural component comes in. And so,
Yeah. It's not as simple. It's complex. It's
yeah,
complex.
yeah. So I expect us to have this growing industry, to have trouble keeping up with demand for the foreseeable future, simply because
Which,
of some of those challenges.
what a good challenge to have, right? What a good challenge to have.
Yeah.
To be too busy. We'd rather be on that side than not busy enough for sure. And it also leaves you with so much potential for growth, right? Like you're working with the affiliate situation and you're already uh capitalizing on that. You're already kind of moving in that direction. No, that's just all of this is incredibly interesting. Obviously I'm a business coach, so my brain is just going crazy right now. not only understanding this as just, or just conceptualizing this as a first time thing. I gave it some thought when I found out you were going to interview with me, and I was like, this is the coolest thing to me. I love creativity when it comes to business, and to me, this is one of the most creative businesses I've come across. So,
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a lot of fun.
yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine. So, why did you choose to go into business for yourself as opposed to working for someone else? What's that story? What does that transition look
Yeah, I never really expected to have the confidence or the boldness to start a business. But I had come to a point in my career where I was sitting in a cubicle and felt like, man, this is just not where I want the rest of my career to go. And I'd already started dabbling in raising goats and some small scale hobby level agriculture. And honestly, just started Goats on the Go as a way to burn off some creative energy, almost as a goof. Maybe a little more than a goof,
like? Yeah, right.
but and I just absolutely loved it. I saw a lot of opportunity there, and never at first would have expected that it could allow me to leave my steady job and run that business exclusively.
Yeah.
Um, but once we figured out a way to scale, and we got past that, we got there, and we see a lot of opportunity yet to come. So it was largely out of like a stage in my career where it's just like something has to change. This is not how I want the rest of it to go. And I've since just fallen in love with being an entrepreneur and working for myself. I have a friend who says he's like, I believe the term he used is terminally unemployable, because you just could never go back, to the nine
You
to
can't.
five.
No, you can't.
And
Once
that's
your
where I'm
mind
at.
is expanded, it will not return to its original form, right? Once
Right.
it's stretched, it's not going back. It's
Exactly.
what a great experience to share on that. How long ago was that, Aaron? How, if you don't mind?
So we started in 2012, and I think I left, direct employment. What year was that? 2017, something like that.
So 5 year side hustle is what it was. Goats on the
Yeah,
go. 5 year side hustle
yeah.
turned into this. That's incredible. This is going to be inspiring to a lot of people, I think. Um, all right, so let's go forward real quick. Where do you see the business in the next 3 to 5 years? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. I think that if I can put enough into working on the business, I see the potential to double the number of affiliates we have in the next 5 years. There are something like 250 MSAs, metropolitan statistical areas, in the U.S., and those are typically 50,000 people up to New York City metropolitan area, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I think
Dense.
on average, every MSA in the United States could probably support 3 affiliate territories. So I'm really excited about the potential. Wherever there are plants growing that people don't like, there is opportunity for a Goats on the Go operator. And so I really like where we're headed. I think we have a model that scales. It's not a one-to-one as far as input and output. We can put in 1 unit of input and get 10 units of output back, and in this model. And so, yeah, I'm really optimistic.
Me too. Aaron, we certainly have covered a lot on this call. And for those who are watching, I highly encourage you to save this and come back a few times for an additional watch. This one's going to be good. Lots of great nuggets. As we begin to wrap up, though, I've got a few rapid fire questions for you. And they are going to be one word answers or one sentence answers. Sound good?
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right,
bring it on.
here we go. What is the key to success for you?
The Woody Allen rule: 80% of success is showing up.
Outstanding. 80% showing up. What is your one piece of advice for other business owners?
Think about scale from the very beginning, not just do I have a product or service that someone will pay me more for than it costs to produce.
Very good advice. What is one book you're reading now? Or if you have not reading now, what have you read most recently?
The connection to all of our business conversation is going to be kind of lost here, but I'm reading a book called Inside of a Dog by Alexandra Horowitz.
Intrigued. And then if you had to choose only one area of your business today that you could immediately improve tomorrow, what would it be?
I would like to be able to afford or convince myself that I can afford a personal assistant or a personal virtual assistant.
Standing. All right. Before we get to our final question of the day, how can others learn more about you or your company? How can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, our website's the best place to go, goatsonthego.com, goatsonthego.com. You can learn both about hiring goats for your own property and about the possibility of joining us as an affiliate to run your own goat grazing operation right where you live. We have some stuff on the usual social media channels and YouTube as well.
Outstanding. And last question of our interview, which I'm so glad you joined me today. What is most inspiring to you today?
I am inspired by my sons. I have 3 sons. They are all super sharp and they have tons. They're going to change the world. And I am thrilled to be able to have shown them in the second half of my career here that entrepreneurship could be for them, and to think bigger than just the doing it the right way, the way that the path that's just laid out for us of, high school, college, good grades, job, and hold on to that thing till retirement. So,
not as linear as we think, right?
Right. And I see my son's brains turning and churning, and yeah, I'm thrilled that they're going to be out there in the world.
Aaron, I can relate with you in more ways than you know, and I'm glad you said that today. As we wrap up, Aaron, I just want to say thank you so much. It's been an amazing spotlight, not just on your journey as a business, but as an owner. And I am incredibly grateful that you allowed me to join you today and learn about Goats on the Go. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how you and your business take it to the next level. Really, thank you.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Gabe. Thanks so much for the invitation.
Absolutely. This has been Business Spotlight with Aaron Steele of Goats on the Go and your host, me, Gabriel Moore of Action Coach, Vanguard Business Coaching. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.